Welcome to another edition of Wings Weekly. Jay Kleinknecht here and head coach Scott Langer. Coach, 6-1 loss on Friday, a 3-2 overtime heartbreaker there on Saturday. Obviously, not the weekend that the Wings wanted. But again, no need for doom and gloom. I know slumps and skids happen at every level. You see it, at the professional level, wherever it might be, and in any sport too. But what steps can be taken to kind of turn things around? And maybe that doesn't necessarily mean even from a preparation standpoint. Maybe it's a mindset. Maybe it's changing something up. Is there something that you guys can actively do?
Yeah, well, win a game. I think that, right now that we're on our heels a little bit as opposed to being on our toes and being aggressive and going after things, and, whatever can go wrong has gone wrong. And, from my approach, we're just going to continue on with business and continue to try to get better each week. I mean, it's going to turn around eventually, and it's just hard to get out of a skid, that we're in. I mean, we played a really good hockey game on Saturday, really good. Didn't give up hardly anything, and it came down to the wire again, and we found a way to lose the game. Yeah.
Well, and like you said, getting out of that slump is the tough part for sure. But in a sense, if you're going to have one, mid-season, maybe that's the best time to have one, really. You want to build towards the end of the season, and you start, you see teams like Bismarck that last year really came on strong towards the end of the year. Now you're seeing St. Cloud and Bismarck both, moving their way up the standings. So again, finishing out the season obviously is a huge thing. So maybe it's not the worst possible time to have it. I don't know. That's probably kind of dumb because it's never a good time to have it, but I wanted to shout out real quick to the fans because we had an absolutely great crowd on Saturday night, and there was no quit in them, no give up in them. Even on Friday night, a 6-1 loss, 45 seconds, on the clock, and they're yelling, "Let's go Wings," cheering on. And I just kind of looked at the crowd and almost laughed to myself for a moment. I just thought they're still in this. They're still cheering hard, and I would think that as an organization, as a team, that means a whole heck of a lot to you guys too.
Yeah, of course. They've always been with us and on our side, whether things are going good, things are going bad, and we utilize that when we talk to potential recruits, because I think that's important.
Sure.
You do get some finicky markets in junior hockey where if things aren't going as planned, they can be really hard on the players. But I think here they're more supportive than anything.
Yeah, and again, it's just an observation that I had over the weekend that I think that as you said, that's a true testament to the great fan base. That they, through thick and thin, they are here and they are cheering loud. Of course, we talked a little bit on Friday night, a strange week in a sense, as far as preparation goes, illness, injury, all kinds of things like that happening in the locker room. And, again, that's not exclusive to one team. That happens, at different times, some more than others, perhaps. But how do you guys, it's not easy, as you said, when you've got half the guys, in the building, it's not easy to prepare. How, as a staff, do you guys cope with that? And it's, in a way, especially when it comes to illness, you don't know who's in, who's out from a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it's hard to, if you say cope with it. It's trying to find affiliates to come up and play. They got their teams that they play for. Their coaches don't want to lose them on the weekend. So you're trying to fill spots, and with guys that have never played junior hockey, that's difficult. But there's not a whole lot you can do. You got to give them their rest, and when they're ready to go, they're ready to go. And right now we're still in the same situation, and we'll see how it goes as we creep towards the weekend. But that's not the excuse.
No,
there's still ways to. Bismarck was down to like 8 forwards on Saturday. And they still found a way to win the game. So you got to give them a lot of credit.
Yeah,
so there's ways you can win hockey games with a short bench, and we just need to learn to do that.
Well, and I honestly didn't bring that up really as an excuse because, like I said, I know Bismarck is dealing with the same kind of illnesses and injuries. A lot of teams do, but even from a preparation standpoint, it can't make it easy by any means. How do you, when, like you said, you have to learn how to win with the short bench or whatever? How how do you do that? Is that something that can be coached or taught, or is it something that comes from inside the players?
I think it's managing the game. You know, there's ways to manage the game and give yourselves a chance. Turning pucks over probably isn't going to be the result you want, but I mean, you obviously need key saves. You know, saves that you're not supposed to have, some saves you're supposed to have, and you know, like we had enough goals to win the game when we scored the first one on Saturday. So we just got to manage the game better. You know, we had a bad face-off, and they ended up scoring and getting a little bit of traction, and you know, obviously the second one. So, but yeah, I mean, I think as a coaching staff, you just have to keep reinforcing, you know, the management of the game and the approach to the game.
From well, and you used the word reinforcing. I feel like these guys are young. You know, and we've talked about before about how, you know, sometimes their emotions and their, you know, the mentality, whatever, can go up and down. It can fluctuate quite a bit. Is that a concern at all for you? Well, you know, and I'll talk with the player here in just a little bit too, a little about this. But do you guys kind of monitor the locker room and make sure that the leadership is doing its job and making sure everybody's staying positive?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly try to, and this group's been positive. Mm-hmm. You know, you hear a lot of positive going on, but no one likes to lose. No. You know, and you can get used to losing a little bit. You know, it's constantly sitting on your shoulder. You know, when you're in a slump, and you know, we're going to try to work that out. But yeah, I mean, hey, we're all feeling the same way. We're a family here, and the entire organization's feeling it. And you know what? This could be the best thing for us at this time of the year. It could. You know, we're creeping towards trade deadline where we're going to solidify our roster, and we're going to have what we have. But and we got some young guys on our team that are still learning the game. Yeah. You know, for sure. But I think when things start clicking, it's going to be a pretty nice looking team.
Well, and that actually kind of translates into my next question, which was going to be about gelling and about having guys come in, you know, to the locker room. You know, we talked about Casey coming in, for example, and you know, the role he's already started to play, or Tuo Mioksa and some of these guys. How long does it generally take? I mean, that's a dumb question. Let me rephrase that. I feel like some guys can jump right into a system and right into a locker room, and it's like they didn't even miss a beat. But then I got to believe on the other side of that, there are some guys that it does take some time for them to start to gel and become a team. Would you say that you know, could be part of one of the, I don't want to call it growing pain, but you know, it takes some time for guys to get used to playing together?
Yeah, it could. I mean, you look at, you know, the American Hockey League, for example. You know, those guys never have continuity throughout their lineup. The guys are constantly up and down, sure. Up and down. So I do believe that the athlete themselves has the ability to adapt to a room, and they're being brought in for their special skills that they bring to the table. And they just need to perform that, yeah. You know. But I mean, every team, you know, at the junior level goes through a period of time where you're having to figure each other out, and with some new faces coming in the locker room, you have to make sure that you are, like you said, gelling as a team. But it takes time. Yeah. You know, it takes time. But you know, from the coach's side, you expect those players to perform and do their job. How about individually? Do you know, like we talk so often about the growth of the team and so on. Do you guys see individual improvement? I mean, I know as a whole you want to get better as a team. Obviously, that's the important part. But do you see growth from certain guys? And I'm not asking you to point anybody out necessarily, but can you look at a guy and go, you know what? He is steps above where he was at the beginning of the season. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the number one thing, is to develop these guys and watch them grow. And I think everybody that's in this locker room has grown substantially. You know, we had to move some guys out earlier because their growth wasn't where it really needed to be. So these guys have a good ceiling on them, this group. So like I said, once things start clicking, it can be a lot of fun. For sure. All right, well, you've got some pretty diehard Eagles fans in your family. They must have been pretty happy about yesterday's win. Yeah. Did you watch that game? Yeah, I did. They were excited, of course, but now I'm in a bind
Yeah.
You know, the two teams I kind of like are the Chiefs and the Eagles, but I had no choice I've been told I have no choice but to root for the Eagles.
See, and that's kind of why I brought it up. I wanted to see how that was going to go, and if you had a Super Bowl prediction or if there was any animosity there at all. Because, but since you've been told, the law has been laid down, huh?
My kids, I woke up yesterday, my kids are wearing Eagles shirts, so I guess they're Eagle fans now too.
That could bite you in the butt, though. I remember as a kid, my dad was a huge Vikings fan, and I was all about the Steelers because it was like, no, I didn't want it to be like, you know. But then later on in life, I ended up becoming a Viking fan. Anyway, so prediction: Eagles win.
I think so.
Yeah.
If they play the way they did this weekend, they're a pretty solid team.
Okay, well, right now the Austin Bruins are at the top of the Central Division with 55 points. Minot with 42, Wings with 42 points as well. St. Cloud with 40 points into fourth now. Bismarck in fifth with 39 points, and North Iowa drops to the bottom with 36 points after having a tough time with St. Cloud this weekend. All teams with 38 games played, with the exception of Austin, has 39, and North Iowa have 37. So things kind of starting to equal out or even out a little bit there. Up next, it's Minot. Minot comes to the ODI Center here. We've been up in their building a couple of times, and stylistically, they're a little different than Bismarck in some senses. What do they do well? What do you see from Minot?
Well, Minot's got good structure of their game. Obviously, their goaltending's good, and they have a couple players, that one line that is probably the best line in the division, I would say, as far as production goes and their ability to change a game. So, they're a good hockey team, and, it's not going to get any easier by any means this weekend. So, but, different look. But I like their team. I like Minot's team. They got a little bit of everything over there, and like everybody knows, though, you have to be aware of their top line, because they could do all their scoring in one night and beat you single-handedly. Yeah,
you look at the statistics, and it's pretty loaded with that group for sure. As a group, as the Wings, what do you have to do against them? What do you need to do well to take away their game?
Well, we need good goaltending. Mm-hmm. We got to start there. We need good goaltending, timely goaltending, and we need to be really good defensively. We need to get pucks back and do what we need to do with the puck, but we need to make sure we're not chasing the game. Mm-hmm. That's the big thing. We're getting out in front and kind of controlling the game. And like I said, if we get some timely goaltending, some guys fishing around the net, we'll get the goals that we need, and hopefully we get the outcome.
Absolutely. All right. Well, once again, we always appreciate you coming on and talking with us. I know how busy you guys are, so I would appreciate you joining us here, and good luck against Minot.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, folks, we'll return with the second portion of Wings Weekly coming up after this.
We raise the bar on bar food with sandwiches, tenders, and there's more where this came from. To the greatest of all times.
Second portion of Wings Weekly continues on, and as usual, a player is joining me. This time it is Luke Backel of Madison, Alabama. Thanks for taking some time to join us.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. You were actually born in Pennsylvania, though, right?
I was.
So how old were you when you moved south?
I was born in Pennsylvania, and I moved south when I was about 2 years old because of my dad's job. So.
Okay. So pretty much all you've ever known is Alabama, though.
Pretty much, yes.
So coming up here to Aberdeen, before the ice, where we're going to get into that in a minute, and the snow, but what was your first impressions when you pull into a town of 27,000 people and approximately, and you're kind of like, okay, this is where I'm going to be for the foreseeable future. What were your first impressions?
Well, it was different because I'm from a much larger town, so it was an adjustment at first, not seeing all the food places that I have back home, and having to adjust to it was a lot harder, but you get used to it, so.
Yeah, and I often hear from players talking about how, if it were in a bigger community, it wouldn't quite have the same environment, same atmosphere in a sense, where the fans and community really kind of embraces you guys. Was that kind of a surprise to you?
It was, because a lot more people know me everywhere I go here, so you got to be careful what you do here.
Be on your best behavior.
Yep.
Huh? Okay, so now I'm going to get to this. All right, you're here. Things start to cool off. The leaves are changing. We get an ice storm, and you're driving on ice. Being from Alabama, what was that like?
I mean, I didn't really know how to drive on ice, so I've kind of learned the last couple months because it's been snow every single day. So it's definitely a lot harder than driving on regular roads.
I heard kind of a funny story about that from a little bird that told me that you were on the phone as you were driving going, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I drive on this? And I thought, well, maybe being on the phone wasn't the best idea there either. Two hands on the wheel, that would help. So, yeah, that's, I'm sure, obviously, it takes some getting used to, but like you said, by now, here we are at the end of January, the cold temps and everything, you're accustomed and acclimated to it. All right, so now there are a bunch of questions I got to ask you that I generally ask everybody just because it's interesting to know about how you get your start. By the way, 2-goal weekend for this guy, and a good Friday, Saturday night there, and 2/3 of the way to the Gordie Howe hat trick on Friday night with the fight and goal. Just missed the assist. So, what's working for you right now? Like, when you have a weekend like that, even though obviously as a team you come up short, you got to feel like, okay, well, is it work? Is it putting in the time and the effort, or what is it that's kind of helping you? I should say, paying dividends for you.
Just doing everything simple, not trying to do anything too fancy, and just sticking to the script that Langer lays out for us. So. Yeah. It works when we all work together.
Okay. How about your start in hockey? How did you, how old were you? What got you on skates for the first time?
So I was about 4 or 5 years old, and my buddy told me to come out to a learn to skate because hockey really wasn't big in Huntsville. So I went out there and I just loved it and my dad was also a huge fan of hockey because he always watched the Penguins growing up. So it was a good thing for me, and I just love skating. So it's kind of how it started.
Okay, so is there anybody other than, like, say, I don't know, any influences, I guess, that have kind of helped you along?
No, not really. Just kind of, my buddy just told me to come pick up the skates, and I was like, okay, that's about it.
And that's it?
Yep.
Wow. I had a chance to meet your family a little bit, and I got them, obviously want to give them a shout out too, because I know firsthand experience how much is involved with having a young hockey player and getting them to practices and making sure that they're fed and they're at tournaments and all these different things. So the hockey family, we talk about the Wings being a family, but it really starts at a young age, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And the hockey moms, all the time that they spend at the rink and everything, it couldn't. I don't think as a whole. Hockey as a sport wouldn't even exist without it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it's even more so than like what basketball or baseball or whatever is, even though obviously family is very important in those two. But did you play any other sports as you were growing up?
Played a little bit of baseball, played a little bit of golf, but that's about it. Just hockey.
Yeah, okay. How about, do you follow any other sports?
I follow a lot of golf, a lot of hockey. That's about it. I don't really watch that many.
Yeah. No football?
Sometimes football, like right now, kind of because it's the Super Bowl, but that's about it.
Well, and I'm going to ask you about that here in just a little bit here too, but if you, take hockey out of the equation, I know that's hard for you guys to do because it's your life, but take that out. What can you see yourself doing in 10 years? What's your dream job?
I don't know. Haven't even thought that far ahead yet, so.
You don't have any interests? Like, if some guys will tell me it's real estate or banking.
Probably law school.
Yeah?
Probably like somewhere in there along the lines of that, but.
Just because you like to argue or what?
Yeah, probably. I like to keep things interesting.
Yeah. Okay, how about another question I like to ask guys? What's your last meal? You're on death row. What's it going to be?
Meat and potatoes.
Oh, come on. You can't be that simple. Everybody's meat and potatoes. Give me specifics. Are we talking steaks? You got to put a menu together for your very last meal. What's it going to look like?
We got steaks, lobster on top of the steak, corn, potatoes, and that's about it.
Well, surf and turf.
Yep, something simple.
Okay, that's an hour. There we go. How about any hobbies or interests when you're outside of the rink? What do you like to do? I hear you're a pretty decent card shark, huh?
Yeah, I love poker. We always play like every day here. Some golf. There's a new simulator at Lee Park that we'll go to, and video games. That's about it.
Yeah. What's your go-to game?
Probably FIFA or NHL.
Okay.
One of the two.
I was expecting Call of Duty. It seems like everybody's been saying that lately.
A couple months ago, not anymore, really. Yeah.
Okay, so here's another one. You can snap your fingers and instantly be transported to anywhere in the world. Where are you going?
Probably Cabo.
Cabo.
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Because I was there this summer and it was unreal, so I want to go back. It's the best place.
Good to know. Okay. Let's see. I was just talking with Coach a little bit about, this a slump, a skid that you guys are in a little bit. So there's some things that aren't going your way, and when things aren't going your way, sometimes this puck luck isn't there, whatever. It can be emotionally taxing. It can be kind of draining. What do you, as a player and as a group in the locker room, what do you guys have to do, mentally to kind of stay positive?
We all just got to come together, and we just got to keep sticking to it and keep fighting through it because it's hard, and just got to come together as a family and work and win.
Well, and you guys know how to win. I mean, obviously, before the break, there was plenty of wins that were being strung together, and whether it be on the road or at home or whatever. So, I'm confident that you'll find a way to get it turned around. But I wanted to ask you a little about that, about what it's like in a locker room. Especially, I saw a video, actually, of a Cincinnati Bengals player that was walking into the locker room yelling, "Why do you got to hit the quarterback?" And I'm like, he was throwing his teammate under the bus. That guy felt terrible for that. That gave them obviously a much shorter field goal with that penalty. But I'm thinking, I shouldn't say all of them, but that particular guy was absolutely throwing his teammate under the bus. And then by the same token, you have guys in there interviewing, and there's a bunch of teammates standing with them, with their hand on his shoulder and stuff, saying, you don't win or lose on one play. It's not one guy, And I got to think a little bit about how that would affect, this locker room. And how again the positivity and being there for each other. You guys, I can't imagine you guys ever really beating up on any one particular guy. Like, you're there as a family.
Yep, we win and we lose as a family.
Yep. All right. Well, we talked a little bit about sports, and like you said, you're watching some football right now. And I got to ask you your Super Bowl prediction. Who's going to win?
The Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a score? Is it close?
We're going to say 24-17, Eagles.
Okay. Well, that will be an exciting one, at least. I don't want to see a blowout.
Nope.
Let's see. We've got Minot coming up. This is a team, as I mentioned with Coach, that we've seen a few times already this year. They're a tough team and can score goals. Stylistically, their possession, they do a lot of things really well. What do you guys feel like? And Coach, obviously, they got film and they know what needs to be done from a planning standpoint. But execution-wise, what do you feel like you guys need to do and do well against the Minotauros?
We got to play like a full 60-minute game, come out, play hard, come out with a win. If we play full 60 minutes of Wings hockey, we're going to win a game.
Okay. And, that consistency, that is something that, especially early in the season, now we're not there anymore really, but early in the season, that consistency can be something that's hard to, you're always kind of chasing because there are the ups and downs of it. How do you do that? How do you go about playing? What are the keys to playing 60 straight minutes of Wings hockey?
It's hard too with some of the guys out of the lineup too, with shortened bench, but you just got to keep working and keep playing your game. Just do what you do best and just see what you can do for the team.
Well, and it was something, that I talked to Coach about just a minute ago too, about that short bench and how, important it is, for you guys as individually, basically, to be able to kind of, next man up kind of mentality. Let's see. I just wanted to ask you again about the keys to Minot. Anybody you want to give a shout out to back home?
My family.
Or anybody, I guess.
My family, my boys back home, Zane, Camden, Henry, all my boys back home we used to work out with, so.
Right on. Yep. Well, hey, this was fairly painless, right?
Yeah.
All right, but that's about all I've got for you here. The Wings kick off February with home games against the Minot Minotauros right here at the Odie, and it's another specialty jersey weekend. Friday, doors open at 5:30, and the puck drops at 7:15. The North American League is kicking off American Heart Month on Friday, so fans are invited to wear red or their favorite jersey to the game. We welcome Syngenta as the game's corporate sponsor inside the Automax Party Deck. Saturday, once again, doors open at 5:30, and the puck hits the ice at 7:15. Our our Spurs specialty jersey weekend continues, and fans are invited to stick around after the game to bid on one of the game-worn jerseys. We also welcome the Spurs Group as the game's corporate sponsor inside the Automax Party Deck. As always, tickets are available online at tickets.aberdeenwings.com or at the door on game nights. $10 general admission tickets are also available at any Sea Express location in Aberdeen with additional purchase. Just a reminder that all SDAHA players and coaches can receive a $5 general admission ticket at the door all season long. Your skater can still sign up for clinics with Wings assistant coach Zach Stepan. Visit AberdeenWings.com and click the Aberdeen Wings Youth Clinics tab for details and dates. Don't forget, you can listen to Wings Weekly via our podcast. Find the audio for this season's episodes on Spotify, Stitcher, or iHeartRadio. And for all the latest news and information on the Wings, visit AberdeenWings.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. Once again, Luke Backel, thanks so much for taking some time to join us and let fans get to know you a little bit.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that'll wrap up this week's Wings Weekly.